Boom. GM.
What's up?
What's up, dude?
How's it going?
That's a cute fucking dog. What's the dog's name?
Oh, that's a secret. He's not doxxed.
Oh, shit. Who wouldn't want the dog to get in trouble now?
Yeah.
Why would they?
He might have been the founder of a couple rugs. You might have heard of them. MF for chicks.
Oh, dude, I got a bone to pick with that dog. Oh, man. Cool, man. So who are we talking to today?
Today we're talking to Santana of West Coast NFT.
Oh, shit. Boom. What does Santana do? Why don't you let our viewers in on that?
I don't know his official title, but I think his bio says Point Motherfucker at West Coast NFT. And yeah, if you're not familiar with West Coast NFT, they're a Web3 NFT studio behind some of the biggest projects in the space. Worked on Doodles, Mfers, Dower Darcells, a bunch of others. But yeah. I got Double Dog. You got Bane. Oh, I don't know if Bane's doxed though.
Oh, dude, you just doxed him to the whole world. Right?
My bad. We're going to have to cut that out. We'll edit it in post.
Santana quickly became like one of my favorite people in NFTs, dude. I had obviously been a fan of his work and just the projects that he was involved with from afar. But talking with the guy, you find out really quickly just like there's genuine people left. They're just behind the scenes and they see themselves as learners and beginners in this space. And that's led me to conclude like why they stay there. And I think it's worked out for him, but hopefully, as you'll see in this episode, we kind of encouraged him and sort of tried to nudge him towards putting himself out there because he's just an incredible resource, man. Knows so many people, knows so much. He's been there since day one for a lot of this stuff and just has a wealth of knowledge really, and experience, really. So, yeah, I'm excited for people to watch this. I think you're going to really quickly find out why Santana was, a guest that we chose. And you're going to realize that he is truly an accidental OG. So, welcome, Santana. Do you prefer Ivan or Santana?
Either's fine, yeah. Santana's good. Then, get a little consistency in branding or something. But, yeah, just my last name.
Yeah, okay, cool. Well, thanks so much, man. I was telling you earlier, like, it's an honor to talk with you. I mean, I feel like you have left a huge footprint, at least in the corner of NFT world that I spend a lot of time in. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's really cool to like talk with the minds behind that. And that's really what KML and our aim is doing this, right? Is just to get to ask you questions that I don't think anybody's asking and and hopefully hear some pretty dope responses. Walk us through your journey into NFTs and specifically like how you got involved with West Coast and all of that.
Yeah, so it's a pretty short story. My journey started very recently, right? It started with West Coast NFT. So we started West Coast NFT around the spring of 2021, maybe. So coming up on 2 years. I am personal friends with who ended up being our co-founder and head developer, Protein, and just know him through my wife. And I know that he had been involved in just crypto in general. They had, when I say they, there was kind of three co-founders that had been working together since 2012. And I just kind of, just knew about his journey a bit, that he had been into Bitcoin and they had built out some tools or some companies kind of around that. And at this point in 2021, he was basically like retired. So he had just had a kid, and so we were visiting them, and I was kind of asking him, what he was up to, and he was he was just telling me about like what's next. What's next is like, hey, there are these NFTs that Richard told me about, and Richard at that point was one of those three co-founders that he had worked with previously and had gone on to found Manifold. And he's like, yeah, these things are interesting. I know that you're always interested in kind of what I'm doing or the crypto space. So if it's something that you want to look into, come join me and we'll take a look. So that's basically what it was. It was pretty innocent. let's see what this technology is. Let's figure out what the kind of the space is about. I knew there was artists involved, right? Like NFTs, I knew had art associated with them, and that was pretty much it. So very naive entry, but it was really for the love of the tech and the art at that point.
Wait, so did you have any like
Of course.
involvement or interest in crypto like before that, or was this like your first like entry into crypto in total?
I would say my interest level was basically came from Protein. Maybe like he would do things like if we would meet up for a friend's Christmas thing, his white elephant gift would be like $20 in BTC or something like that. And so that's how I got my first crypto. That was it. That was actually what it was, and that's all I had before I started West Coast NFT. Was just that little bit that I had owned. So I had a Coinbase account through that. I didn't have a hardware wallet or anything like that. So that was my onboarding. I just didn't. Yeah, man. I mean, I came from my background's in corporate Fortune 500, a little bit of entrepreneurial stuff after I got tired of that, and it was very straight edge, for lack of a better term. And once we started West Coast NFT that spring, I want to say maybe March 2021, I still didn't understand it for 6 months. I mean, if I'm going to be completely honest, I still don't understand NFTs today. They're always evolving. There are some things that I can that make sense to me, and a lot of things that don't. But I didn't buy my own NFT for 6 months, even when we were involved, even when we were launching these things.
Wow.
Like how I don't know. Like how can you even tell if something is going to be valuable or it's not? It was really just like, does this resonate with me? And at that time, the meta was like animal PFPs, right? And I wanted a Bored Ape. Sure, I wanted a Bored Ape. If I could have afforded a Bored Ape, that would have been sweet. But I didn't necessarily want the insert whatever bootleg version of the Bored Ape.
Wait, so it sounds like you have like a little bit of like entrepreneurial experience. So like was starting like West Coast like relatively easy, or like it's just interesting that like your first entry point was like, oh, I'm going to start a company to kind of like support the ecosystem. Like I think usually people start as a collector and then kind of build their way in. Like is that right, that you kind of have past experience like launching companies?
In hindsight, that was one of the biggest reasons that we, have had whatever amount of success we've had in the space. Is that all of the co-founders that came together had been entrepreneurial in one way or another, right? It was just kind of that culture, that mindset that allowed us to come into a new space. And even like the big picture, kind of vision. So this didn't come from me. It rolled down from the guys that had been in crypto, but they had been through several cycles by that point. They kind of knew the ebbs and flows of not only the market, but like how tech and how the outside world views it. And they just knew that there's if you take a bet. And you're very early, that there could be outsized returns. So it wouldn't make sense to me, and it didn't make sense to me to start a company around like our first project. We developed a custom smart contract for an artist. His name is Swolf Chen, and he had I think he had come maybe from like the Nifty group that had been a nifty group of artists that had been in the space and looking to expand outside of that ecosystem. So custom work was starting to become more prevalent, and we were building an airdrop smart contract again for him to kind of expand out and reward his holders and XYZ. But like we were doing that project, and our payment was one NFT. To split between the first initial 3 people that were working on that. So yeah, that's kind of a crazy thing to plant your flag down and say this is going to be a company, and this is going to be our future. So so it was a little bit of foresight that the crypto experience founders brought, but then the fact that the rest of us were willing to take a jump because I think we had already been kind of the risk of taking that leap to start your own business, and there's a lot of uncertainty in that. We had already shaken those cobwebs off, so it allowed us to jump in. Everyone jumped in head first.
Did you guys use any outside funding to start West Coast NFT, or is it purely bootstrapped from you guys?
Yeah, we it's kind of a hybrid. So essentially, what happened is Protein, his real name is Wei, and Lim, who goes by Lexi on Twitter. Those two plus Richard had found in some Bitcoin companies that they had sold to a bigger company called Hexbyte. And so they had all worked at Hexbyte for maybe 4 or 5 years. They're based out of Vancouver. And then Richard left to start Manifold, and Wei left, he had a baby. And so when we all came together, it was kind of natural to incubate within Hexbyte because, they had a legal entity already. They also did have some, development resources or, just whatever kind of infrastructure was already set up. So we did incubate within them, but we didn't, raise any outside VC funding or anything like that.
Got it. Cool.
Yeah, and then eventually, we spun off to form a, West Coast NFT. It's its own entity.
Right. So how many people are at West Coast NFT right now? Like full time employees?
Yeah, I would say there's about maybe a dozen or so full-time employees. I'm not a developer, so my team, which is like project management and product managers, is about four total. And then the rest are full-time developers. And then we have, we're really lucky to have a great network of contractors, developers that are either, working full-time or just kind of, are interested in the space and they just want to learn new things. So we're really interested to kind of tap them when we have a project that might interest them or just kind of need extra capacity to flex to, because we have a lot going on, sort of thing.
That's cool. How has finding artists to work with changed over time? I'd imagine at the start, you probably had a pretty strong inflow of artists trying to work with you, right? Because they all need help. But now the tools have developed so quickly and everybody can be, sort of proficient on their own. Are you finding yourselves having to do more outbound work, or how do you guys get those sort of clients?
Yeah, it definitely has changed. I would say the biggest source of deal flow very early on, right? Like before we had launched our first project or before we had kind of launched our first, big project was mainly through Richard on Twitter. So at Manifolds, they were building out Manifold Studio. Like they had this very specific idea of what the future could look like, and they wanted to focus on that. So when things came that required custom work that would, deviate from that, that's when they tapped, Wei, myself, Lim, and the rest of the team. And so he had a big presence on Twitter. And when Satoshi reached out to someone, he reached out to Richard. He's like, "Hey, I'm interested in doing this thing," and Richard's like, "Hey, this isn't exactly up our alley, but why don't you contact Ivan and kind of go through it with him?" So that's what it was early on. And yes, kind of to your point, there was a tremendous amount of interest from artists or creators looking to launch projects. I would say the situation now is twofold. One is just there are just fewer people interested in launching projects. Within that group of people, the kind of custom services that we provide are still there still is a need for them, but if it is too difficult, or if people are creators or artists are okay with launching with outside the box solutions, yes, there are so many awesome ones. Manifold Studio being one of them. But yeah, our focus was really on 10K PFPs because that's just what the interest was. Those are the ideas that people were bringing us.
What do you think the future of 10K PFPs is? Is that meta over?
Yeah, for new collections, well, okay, taking a step back, 10K PFP like I'm not a market expert. I'm not even like a NFT culture expert. To me, what 10K PFP represents is like community is a big thing. There are enough like network effects with that many group of people, kind of coalescing around whatever this idea is that the 10K PFP is putting out. MFers being an amazing example of that, a core idea that everyone could kind of all build around. Identity is another one. You don't get that with generative art so much. You don't get that with more abstract, art so much. Being able to identify with this PFP, with this, use it as an avatar, for lack of a better term, on Twitter or on socials. Those things are you can't get that combination in any other type of NFT project that you do. So for existing projects that are out there, floor price aside, I never know what's going to happen in the market. I see that there can be some lasting opportunities for some of these projects to kind of outkick their coverage. For new projects, it is difficult. It's difficult to launch them. I feel not impossible, but we also haven't seen. We've seen them sell. I've seen a couple of them sell. Like as recently as Christmas, we helped out with a project that launched, via OpenSea by FuckRender, and his project sold out. Like there's just enough attention and demand for it. But to kind of take the cultural footholds that projects from last year did, I think that's more difficult.
Yeah, I totally agree with that point. And do you think similar? You touched on how like launching a business early was to take advantage of sort of these like power law size returns. Do you had the same approach when you were working like with early 10K PFPs? Were you thinking about that? Like, oh, these projects are going to take the cultural foothold first, and I want to be involved in that? Or did that just happen after the fact?
That was part of the like mental math to kind of get us to the point where this is a good idea to pursue. But that wasn't a driving thing at all. None of like the kind of success metrics, in terms of revenue and revenue this, culture that. It was really just, this is a really new technology. No one is doing it. It's a cool problem to figure out. And there are on the other side of the equation, there are a lot of really interesting, cool people that want to partner to figure it out. It was all a big experiment. Yeah. And I think that was the appeal, and the fact that we could bring some part of the equation to the table, I think was compelling for our team. Again, I can't speak for myself, but the crypto guys on our team had done very well for themselves, and this was just something that they were interested in. So that was all it was. It was taking it day by day. It hasn't even been 2 years, but even back then, like if you were in it for 1 month before another team, it was kind of a big advantage. Just being 1 month ahead of the curve. So yeah, it was a lot of right place, right time, and the right kind of mindset to just, I would say like if I have to be honest and like kind of abstract what kind of competitive advantage we bring, yes, being early is great. It's really just about trust and reliability at this point, like that we can, your artists and creators are kind of trusting us with something that's really precious to them, right? This, whatever it is, this idea of art or this project or this community, and we want to be stewards of that on the development side of thing. And it's kind of that simple in my mind. Everything else that we build around it, it's all great, and it's all like the most necessary thing with anything that we build is just security. Make sure the thing works, that sort of thing. You guys have seen kind of projects evolve. They're pretty standard iterations on what's come before. People have built really novel things, and the market doesn't care. if it helps tell like the story better or anything like that, then I do see the value in it. But tech is a floor raiser, um, and then it just allows the creators and the artists to have that benchmark and raise the ceiling from there.
Okay, I kind of have to ask a question. So like, I like that when you were
Hmm.
talking about PFP projects, that I felt like you had a very like clear and logical perspective on it. It does serves two things: community, 10,000 people to rally around an idea, and identity, something that you feel like
Hmm.
represents you in like this digital space. I think after Bored Ape Yacht Club had such like a huge success, I think a lot of
Hmm.
early like, or maybe just a lot of NFT collectors started seeing PFPs more as like almost like a way to be an angel investor or like a Kickstarter with the PFP collection as like the seed round into like this new like Web3 company that could be like the next big IP. So one, I want to get your
Hmm.
thoughts on like what your thoughts are on people who see it that way, and then two, since it's so topical, I kind of have to ask like, what's your take on like the whole like creator royalties debate, Blur versus OpenSea, and like how, because secondary royalties was kind of part of that business model, and like how that's all shifting. Because it sounds like pretty much since the beginning you were always like, PFP serve those two things, which I think is like very sensible. But then now, there was a lot of people that kind of had this third idea of what it could be. And I think a lot of that's kind of shifting just like with the recent news. So yeah, I just wanted to hear your thoughts on some of that, just from your perspective.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great question. I think just to clarify, I unfortunately I'm not really a deep thinker in this space for one main reason is the fact that like I just have so much to do and I can only do like what's in front of me. So when I glean stuff like that about PFPs, like that took a year, right? That wasn't something that I was going into the space with, being like, oh, like yes, I see all these things and this is the kind of grain of truth that I can pull out. That's something that guys like Protein and Richard are really great at. Um, so a lot of our early conversations with artists and creators were very much geared around a little bit of what you were saying, KML. Is this is kind of an entry point, and right now, like there is product market fit for it. Right now is I could launch a business um, that is going to do XYZ, and the PFP is going to be kind of what kicks it off. So I had a lot of conversations from people interested in doing that first year in 2021, and I would say of the 100, for every 100 we would partner with one probably, and so. Um, being and that's not us, like that's not me trying to gatekeep or anything. It's just a capacity issue, right? And it's eventually what led us to build out internal tools, much like you see today with all the B2C stuff, that allow creators to do it for themselves. We kind of took a similar internal track, to be able to leverage the fact that we've built something once, and now more people can access it. um, so excuse me, all that to say is, they yeah, be wanting to create a community around an idea, or run a PFP. Like that wasn't enough reason. Like we had people coming in and be like, this is great, I want to create a community around this. It wasn't enough reason. um, there had to be kind of a sensible approach to it, that again, you're going to be stewards of this business, and at least understanding that, acknowledging that, and having an idea of how you want to approach that responsibility, I think was important for us. Um, the other thing that was important for us was having artist-led projects. Again, like the fact that there's some artistic integrity in what we're putting out there was important to us, versus versus a person that, and there's nothing wrong with being like a producer or a creator that doesn't actually do the art. But if an artist isn't involved in a material way in the project, right, and it's just maybe like a Fiverr thing, that was also something that didn't appeal to us. So, um, So yeah, that's how it was early on, and just trying to kind of figure it out. And I think we're all figuring it out together, both on the creator side and on the development side. Um, and then I think the writing has always kind of been on the wall. It's something that we talked about internally in terms of how long is this going to last. Um, to the rest of the guys, it was crazy. It was crazy the fact that some of them had already gotten into CryptoPunks. It was crazy the fact that they're trading for 60 ETH, 80 ETH, 100 ETH, kind of at the top of that craze. And yeah, and that people are flocking to these other PFP projects in the volume that they were. To me, it was great. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Why didn't I get into crypto earlier? I'm gonna be. I wasn't even trading a lot. Like I said, I wasn't buying so many NFTs. But like, yes, great. I'm gonna be rich. Um, and it was just the norm for me. But to them, it's like, hey, how long is this gonna last? Is it gonna last another month? Is it gonna last through the summer? Whatever it may be. So the writing had always been on the wall, and the creators that had launched projects by that point that we were still supporting, right? We were trying to maybe build out a phase two or some kind of other thing on the roadmap. Um, Also got the sense that things can change very quickly. And the ones that were just better positioned, like Doodles, were able to kind of solve that uncertainty by going to raise VC funding. Um, and everyone, that wasn't available to everyone, so everyone kind of took different approaches to it, but it was always on their mind. And there must be tremendous amount of pressure being an NFT founder, on their side of the equation. That's really one of the reasons that West Coast NFT never did a primary first person PFP drop. Me personally, I did not want any of that smoke. So that's kind of how it started and how it evolved. What that brings us to is today, came out what you're asking about, which is the royalty situation. I think the market is the founder side of the market is very resilient. So to new people coming into the space, um, it's just how it is, and that's I feel like that's probably always where it was going to, just because of the simple fact that royalties cannot be enforced on the smart contract level. With regards to a primary smart contract, it's just not how the ERC protocol works. So you're always going to have to rely on, unless that changes at the protocol level, you're always going to have to rely on, you know, third person marketplaces to kind of do the right thing. And you can always build your own marketplace as well and kind of restrict trading to only that marketplace smart contract. But then you lose the exposure that an aggregate marketplace has. So I think to new creators, that's just a reality that they're going to have to build around. And again, I think they're resilient enough to understand that. To existing projects, I do feel like it might be a death keel for some of them that are in the middle, right? That didn't raise VC funding, that we're relying on this, for lack of a better term, revenue stream from royalties. Um, and the other thing is, like, that first raise, that first primary revenue sell did give people did give creators a little bit of a war chest if they played it right. So they have something at their disposal to pivot. But if yeah, I don't know. As a founder today, I don't know what the answer would be. It's a very difficult place to be.
So changing gears really quickly, Santana, I want to go through your Twitter bio because you got a lot of stuff in there, and I'm not
Sure.
familiar,
Okay.
and I don't think people who would be listening to this are familiar with everything in there. So
Sure.
just starting, we already talked about West Coast NFT.
Yep.
The next thing you have up is that you're a Doodles maxi, and I take offense to this
Yes.
because you should be an MF for maxi, but we'll
I
we'll let you
know.
slide. So can you explain to us why you're a Doodles maxi?
Yeah, I mean, Doodles, we had been working with the Doodle founding team since that very first summer. Like I said, we started that spring, and just what Jordan and Evan kind of brought to the table. again, like at that point, I'm listening to 100 people, 100 project, pitches, um, and they obviously came from a place of understanding of Web3 culture, DGen culture, and what kind of responsibility they were taking on. So they stood out immediately, and it's just like a sentimental thing. Like they brought on an artist that they thought they could build around, and who was known in the Web3 space already, who was known in the NFT space already. And once they got concept art back from them, it just wasn't quite right. Not that the art wasn't good or anything, but for what they were going for, kind of this like intangible criteria, it just wasn't exactly what they were looking for, and they pivoted from there. And that was crazy to me. Like this is a well known artist. This art is beautiful, and I'm getting Fiverr art after Fiverr art. Like this is gonna do well. Like why would you pivot from that? But yeah, they kind of maintained they maintained their standards of what they wanted to build for this next thing. It wasn't a quick entry into the space. It wasn't let's get in before um, this kind of market, this frenzied market, and it's like we want to build a product that is going to be something we build for our lifetime. So that said a lot to me. And then the fact that the next artist they brought on was Burnt Toast. And when I saw concept art of that, I was like, I get it. Like this is amazing. This is completely different. And again, both all that concept art was beautiful, but um, it just clicked. So it was really just kind of the process of building Doodles with Evan, Tulip, and Burnt Toast that kind of made me a maxi. But even from that, I would say that I had a very similar experience and relationship with Sartoshi in terms of what he wanted to do with MFers. It was a very meticulous approach. Kind of had like this North Star, that everything kind of came out of. So yeah, I would say that those two creators, was going through that process with them was amazing.
Muted there. Sorry. Okay, that makes sense. You were doodle pilled. I guess is it fair to say, pretty early on.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice. So the next thing on your bio here is line cook at Finn's Beach Bar. Could you
Oh
explain to us
man,
what line Finn's
yeah. I
Beach
didn't know
Bar
this was
is?
gonna happen, man. Could have cleaned up the bio there. Yeah, Finn's Beach Bar is so we have a contributing developer at Deep Blue Steve, who was integral in some of the roadmap stuff that we built for Doodles, and he's just a tinkerer, a builder. Um, like I just can't get him to stop shipping stuff. So in his free time, and again, he's one of the ones that has a full time job at in Silicon Valley, and he's doing Web3 NFT stuff because he's interested, and we're lucky enough to have him do it with us. So in his free time, he's like, "Hey, wouldn't it be cool if I made a bar in the metaverse, and I'm the bartender, so I kind of get to serve my patrons." And that was kind of like the original concept, but really for him is to have kind of a safe space and an audience to build stuff, to iterate. He's a prototyper at Meta. He's a prototype engineer at Meta, and so yeah, it's just like, hey, I have this idea. I'm he doesn't say this, but he's skilled enough to build the idea out very quickly, and then get in front of people and see what they think, and if they like it, maybe there's something there. But it's an idea that he likes. It's an idea that he wants to build. Um, and that's kind of what Fins is. So Fins is at its core, it started as a Twitter group chat, right? So it was 75 people. I think group chats are limited to 75. 75 people, mainly from the Doodle community. I would say like just kind of like the people that were active in this bear market time. So the people that stuck around, And so it's just people getting to know each other there, making personal connections, and then yeah, engaging around kind of different Web3 experiences. So one of the more recent and successful kind of experiences he put out was a game called Last Call, where there are 15 drinks, and the smart contract is times down, it counts down by blocks. So every block or every few blocks, a new drink would be available to mint, and then it would switch and it would switch, and the longer you wait, the rarer it gets. But if you wait too long, if you wait past the 15th drink, then the smart contract shuts down and the game ends. And so the goal was to collect as many drinks as you can, and if you collect all 15, you could burn it for this fishbowl sort of thing. So that was really neat to put out there, and I think it got upwards to maybe 20,000 mints, maybe a little more. And it was all free to mint. It was all free to mint. But it was the fact that everyone can kind of experience something at the same time, and then talk about it. It's just kind of like it reminds me of like HBO Sunday night Game of Thrones, right? Everyone knows where to go, what to check for, and then everyone can talk about the same thing. Yeah, and then most recently, he introduced this project concept called Live at Fins. So he's bringing in different different singers or different artists in the space, and they can perform live on the spaces, and then take that performance and recording, turn it into an NFT, and make it available for people that attended. Again, it's all free, and it's all just kind of like little tweaks on how to incentivize people to engage, and then how to keep people engaged as well. So that's Finn's Beach Bar. My involvement is I'm just kind of a thought leader, thought partner, I would say, in the sense of he would give me an idea every hour, and I would say, no, that's terrible, don't do that. And then if I go, yeah, that's okay, then he's like, all right, cool, he's gonna build that tonight, sort of thing. Yeah.
I like that, thought partner. I'm gonna start KMO. I'm the thought partner in this podcast relationship.
That's what.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, so the last thing here
that's-
is graveyard shift. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, graveyard shift at Art Lab. Yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah, thought partner is my non-dev contribution. I can't build anything, so that's what I lean on. Yeah. Graveyard shift at rlab.xyz. So I was alluding to the fact that very early on, there are a lot of worthy people, worthy artists, worthy creators in the space that West Coast NFT specifically just didn't have capacity to do to take on their project and partner with them. And I would do my best to tap people in our network that I knew could potentially help. Like, this would be a good fit. So it wouldn't be us doing it internally, but I trust this developer to kind of help you out. So that also had a limit, and what we did with the tools that we were building internally, we created this platform called Art Lab. This is kind of the baby of our head developer, Protein NFT, and he just wanted to be able to have a place where we really like industrialized this pipeline that we had been using internally. And people can go on there and generate, it could be any amount, but 10K PFP projects. Take the art, and it does everything that's necessary to get it into the hands of the consumer at that point. So we made the concerted effort last winter, around last December, to take this thing that we were using internally and try to make it a public facing platform. So not quite there yet. I think maybe in a month or so we'll kind of have a public beta that people can give us feedback on. There are a lot of things out there already that are doing pieces of this, and so I'm not necessarily certain that this first iteration is exactly what people need. But for us, it's always about taking feedback from users and kind of running with that and building it out. So yeah, that's artlab.xyz. Like I also have some questions for you guys. So let me know if we have time for that.
Oh wow. Well, I'll tell you what. I've got loads of questions for you. I'm just warming you up, but
Right.
you
Okay.
you can definitely start hit us with some questions.
Yeah.
Now, I want to hear some questions now. I'm intrigued.
Nah, okay, well, how do I screen share? I'm gonna go through your Twitter
Yeah.
real quick. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm not gonna do that. But no. I'm just curious. I'm curious how the like tell me. I want to know about what you guys are doing, kind of within MFers. Breezy specifically took offense to the fact that I don't have MFer Maxi on my bio, and like, hey man, there's only so much space. But yeah, I'm curious. What your involvement has been in Satoshi's back, or Satoshi underscore RIP is back, and I had people in my DMs like, "Hey, dude, is this the real Satoshi?" Like, I don't know, I have no idea. But no, it is. It is. He's proven that. But yeah, I'm curious to hear what your take is on the state of MFers today.
I'll let KMO go first.
Okay, I'll let Breezy get like a really good angle and have a few more minutes to think about his answer.
Yeah.
In terms of the state of MFers, I mean, yeah, that's a big question. I mean, truthfully, the one thing I love about the project the most is that ever since the beginning, Satoshi set really clear intentions for what the project is in terms of no roadmap, CC0, MFers do what they want. And I'm really glad that he posted his thoughts and his perspective on it on like Mirror, like a Web3 block, like Web3 platform, just so that there's provenance. Like, and before he left in June, like he posted that in February. So I'm really glad that he did that. Two, in terms of like MFers today and where they are, I think like net, it doesn't change. I think the community aspect is still there. The identity aspect is still there. If you like the idea around a community built on people doing whatever the F they want, then it's like the space for you. And then from my identity perspective, it's like if you connect like emotionally with the idea of the person leaning back in the computer chair, sort of like degenning on the internet, then it's like the perfect PFP. In terms of like the logistics of the treasury and the royalties, like I think one, royalties are obviously not something that we can countably rely on in the short or even like long-term future. So I don't know. It's like we'll kind of have to figure that out. And then the second piece is like I don't think the treasury is like really in a sizable enough place to actually like make a meaningful impact. Like the culture is the culture. If people don't love the project, then no amount, you can't buy your way to love, is like the way I think of it. It's like we could do all sorts of fancy tricks and things, but if you don't have that emotional connection, then it's pretty much going to be useless. And then also like ETH is still like down from all-time highs. So I think it's smart to just sit and hold on ETH. If we're bullish on the NFT ecosystem as a whole, on the Ethereum as a whole, then it's a pretty like safe hold. And then in terms of Satoshi coming back, I'm really glad that he's back, in terms of like just as a community member. And I'm just like happy that they're doing something with End of Satoshi. Cause yeah, I don't know. It's just like to me now, I really do see NFTs like very differently. I see them less of an investment and more of like kind of like a hobby and definitely more of like entertainment. So the fact that there's these the art pass, the 20K PFP pixel collection. I'm just like excited that every week I have something to look forward to. It's like, oh, sign up for the pre-mint, or did I win the raffle? It's just like nice to like open your email or your Twitter account and there's like some action going on. And I think overall net, like MFers still do what they want, and that really hasn't changed. So yeah, that's kind of like my take on the MFer ecosystem right now.
Any questions on that, Santana, or you want me to go now?
No. I was giving the pause and seeing if Breezy had anything to add. My takes is very eloquently put. That was great, and I agree with all of it. I don't have anything kind of that deviates from that. I guess the one thing I will add is um, I'll pull out the thread that you laid out, which is like, dude, like the thinking around what an NFT is changing for everybody. I think every day. For me, like I'm leaning more on I'm looking more at the history of NFTs. Like I've always known, like, hey, punks were the first, this and but what does that actually mean? Like, how did, like, what was the story around punks? And again, like, it's not like it wasn't publicized, but just taking a beat to learn, not just the story, but like from the community members that really, embrace that meme of being punk rock in this new tech, and hearing how they, how they internalized it, and what punks mean to them, I think is really compelling. And the reason I bring up punk specifically is because Sartoshi was one of those collectors, where punks meant a lot to him, and a lot of that comes out in the MFers collection, and the MFers ethos. So yeah, I think like as a like if we're just talking about like as a project, um, I think MFers is well positioned, in that sense that it doesn't need, the community and like in development, future plans, like that all needs, yeah, like stuff takes money. So having royalties being cut off, that sucks. But if we're talking about like the, yeah, the, how long this meme, could last, like it's gonna last as long as Ethereum, is up.
Yeah, I totally agree. The way I look at it is like every generation has their goat, right? Like my dad had Michael Jordan, and I kind of had LeBron, and I feel like earlier people had crypto punks. That was kind of their goat PFP, and I entered the space, and mine is MFers. So I see MFers as occupying this like very pure PFP play. Like it does nothing more than that, right? It's the purest
Mm-hmm.
uh, profile picture identity that you can get, and there's no false promises or anything. So I actually think, although it hasn't proven to be problematic, that the treasury poses a much larger threat than people acknowledge, because like once you mix money into things, it gets complicated, and I think I'd rather see MFers like just be that pure PFP. So I actually get nervous when we start talking about treasuries and like expanding things, because I think they're like everybody's doing that. That's not actually that interesting. I think to be a real pure meme on the internet, like the MFers have a potential to be, is like you don't have a team backing you up, right? You don't have funding, you don't have like roadmaps and plans. You're just you exist on the merit of the meme, right? And it's like propensity to replicate itself throughout the internet and invade people's minds. And I get nervous when we bring other things into that equation other than like just let like I think we're in a good position, like you said, and we should
Mm-hmm.
try to ride this wave. You can do your part by building companies and using the PFP properly, I think, on the internet and spreading the meme that way. But we shouldn't taint it. We should be careful not to taint it by throwing like money and getting too corporate with it. And that comes very quickly, right? I mean, when we had like $100,000, people were coming out of the woodwork with all these ideas and all these businesses to invest in, and the community can get all this stuff. And like that's interesting, sure, and there's a place for that. But I not in my backyard, so to speak, right? With MFers,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I wish I could learn more about Doodles, because I think there's as like cool it is, as cool as it is to be like this pure PFP CC0 play.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think the opposite of that is equally compelling, just for different reasons. And I'm just
Mm-hmm.
not as far down that rabbit hole yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think the space that Doodles and kind of others in that tier, right? Like Azuki, Yuga's obviously kind of like the king in that, space. Um, they definitely take a different, position in the space, and um, the thing I like about Doodles is, that they always kind of march to the beat of their own drum. They weren't trying to be the next Yuga. Um, they weren't um, they weren't trying to execute a playbook that the market had already said, like, for better or for worse, like, hey, this is what we want. This is what works. And again, like for better or for worse, the community has their own, or holders have their own opinions on that. Um, and yeah, it's just like it's the art. It's just the art is amazing. Like I just think that when I see burnt toast stuff, it just elicits immediate joy. Um, and Evan, Jordan, Julian's on a CEO now. What they're going to bring to the equation, I'm just interested to watch it all unfold. Yeah, I don't know how it's going to do. I'm we've definitely kind of like been in a bull market, sorry, in a bear market, kind of for an extended time, but we've been seeing some dips into that category of NFTs, with moonbirds and artifacts and things like that. I'm not rushing to buy a bunch of NFTs. I'm just, I'm just interested to see how everything plays out.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. I think, I don't know, maybe, I mean, at least from my perspective, like, I think when I think of Clonax, Moonbirds, and Doodles, I think the one thing that, I don't know, and this, I guess I don't really know anything about NFTs. I'm still learning too. And as a reminder, it's like, yeah, what we think of what an NFT is and how we collect them changes all the time. But I think at least for those three projects, and this is just gonna be my unsolicited opinion, is I think they just need like a really clear North Star that's like big and exciting. But just like you could say it in one sentence. Because I think with Yuga Labs, I think it's super clear. They want to build the Web3 World of Warcraft. Like that is like a very clear North Star. And I think people can get excited about that vision. You can already think about all the in-game items that you buy and sell. At least for Clonax, Moonbirds, and Doodles, I think they just need that one liner of like what they're trying to accomplish that's like really big and exciting. I think for Doodles, it could be like the biggest Web3 animation studio. And they're gonna do like TV shows, movies, like. But I think the problem is like, and I think even Azuki kind of has this problem, is they say they just want to be a big brand or IP, and then they just have like a whole constellation of all these things they want to do, like music, fashion, animation. But it's like, I think the more specific and like big the vision could be, I think the more excited everyone would be. That's just my perspective. And I'm not a founder, so like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing either. I'm totally just talking out of my ass as just like a degen on Twitter. But that's just like my off the cuff, just like thought. Because I've been thinking about like Clonax, Moonbirds, and Doodles in particular, but what do I know? I bet it's like a million times more complicated than the way I think about it. So
Yeah, I mean, I think those insights are spot on, including the fact that none of us know what it's like to have a billion-dollar brand to usher into this into the future.
yeah.
What do you think about the Nakamigos?
Oh yeah.
Nakamigos, yeah. So Nakamigos Art Lab is involved. So West Coast, I volunteered the use of Art Lab to kind of generate these 20,000 assets. I don't want to say too much. I don't know too much, but I don't want to say too much in the sense of like to prime the audience. But I like the art. It's cool. Like pixel art is hard to do, and it's again like it feels like it's a little bit inspired by CryptoPunks, and it's hard to have like variety, but they stand out. So I like it. I like it just from an art perspective. It's also so hard for me I see things like on my screen. I'm staring at these things for hours and hours, week over week. So I just lose any sense of how this is going to look in the real world. So when I see things on OpenSea, it changes how I see things as well. So I've worked with I don't know, is the artist known on this thing? It just says Nakamigos and it says HIFO.
It just says
HIFO
Labs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've worked with the artist on this, very thoughtful, and kind of takes pride in the work. So yeah, Art Lab is involved, and I'm happy to be able to mint some for free. Definitely claim some for free with our end of Satoshi passes in our vault.
Dang. Yeah, they are so sweet. I never thought myself to be like that much of a fan of like pixel art. Obviously, there's grails out there that I'm a huge fan of for their significance, but purely aesthetic, you could make the argument that like CryptoPunks aren't that attractive, in my opinion. I don't want to start fire, riots and shit, but like I think you could make that argument. Whereas these, as soon as I saw them, I was like, and I'm trying to be unbiased as possible, right? I know I'm like a hardcore MFer, I was like, holy shit! I was like, these are amazing. They reminded me of like the little Lego people like I played with when I was a kid, and instantly that was what I thought of, and I was like, wow, I fucking want all of them. I was like, I can't wait to see like what the rares are.
Yeah.
I'm very excited.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear it. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, this is a dope project.
So you have the alpha, huh, on Nakamiko's? I mean, we're not gonna make you share it, but you have the alpha.
I have the alpha in the sense of I'm helping put together the art. I know what the artist is. Like I said, I don't know if that's public or not. But pretty much it's a pretty straightforward thing.
So that was gonna.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's a pretty straightforward project. Like the art is going to speak for itself, for better for worse. If you mess with it, great. If you don't, there's other projects for you. And it's a free claim for EOS holders, and I think the idea is that I think there's about 17,000 Ender Satoshi pass holders. So the idea would be to have them claim, and then the remaining go to a public sale sort of thing. So I think it's pretty straightforward in that sense, and maybe that changes. I'm not sure, but. Yeah, like I'm curious. What is the alpha? Like, what is the alpha to people? Because, again, like, yeah, I know we're launching Doodles and I know we're launching Mfers, but I'm not going to tell you to buy them, because they could flop. Yeah, I don't know.
Right. So I'll tell you what is circling on the Twitter spheres, as far as I know. People come down to the site here, and first of all, they're thrown off by the commercial rights, and they think that this wording here is particularly useful, and oh wait, am I showing you guys? I'm not showing you guys the right one.
Yeah, we see it.
Let me show you the right time.
Yeah, we're looking at Twitter right now.
We're looking at Twitter. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me stop sharing and share the correct one. Sorry about that. Okay. So the commercial rights here, it says Nakamiko's holders are granted the same commercial rights as Yuga Labs provided for CryptoPunks, and a lot of people are obviously drawing their own conclusions and stuff from the wording here. And then if you scroll down to this Hypho Labs part, this is going to bounce me out of, there we go. And you get to hypholabs.com. Again, they think that the language here is particularly interesting, that the team members have created digital art and NFTs for the past 5 years. So in a nutshell, people think this is the reincarnation of Larva Labs. How true that is, I don't know, but that's what people think.
I mean, I'm not sure if I can either confirm or deny that, but that is not what I expected people to think. But okay.
Oh, okay. So what did you expect people to think? Maybe we'll learn something.
I have no idea. I didn't know if the artist was more well known, or I don't know. And I honestly, to be completely transparent, I don't know what Hypho Labs is. I don't know anything about them. So again, like my little slices, I have we've done our generation a million times. So when I heard Satoshi was coming back and that he wanted to do something like this, to me it was a no-brainer to like just be like, whatever you guys need in for this particular thing, let me know, like leverage us. It wasn't there's no expectations in terms of like volunteering any of that, and just kind of like whatever I can help, whatever I can offer to help you guys be successful, please let me know. So yeah. Larva Labs, though. I guess anything is possible. I don't know.
Also, I noticed like Dutch auction starts at 1 ETH, so it has a pretty high price for public mint.
didn't
I think that's so it
know
doesn't get
that it's
botted,
a
right?
Dutch auction. Yeah, Dutch auctions help with
They
yes, the fact that yeah, they mitigate bots for sure.
Well, initially the criteria of the pre-mint link was that you had to have one ETH in your wallet by the
Hmm.
time that the registration closed or whatever. And I think a bunch of people complained about that, so they made it a Dutch
Mm.
auction that starts at one ETH. It seems like both of those are to mitigate bots. If that would be my guess, but
But they lowered the pre-mint requirement to 0.1 ETH.
right. But
Mm.
I don't think
No,
somebody's
I
gonna
mean I think
bot that
it.
at one ETH.
Yeah, that's just funny because I
So
never heard the Larva Labs rumor, but then the 1 ETH. I mean, interesting. That's funny.
this is and you
Anyway,
guys are getting all this from the pre-mint description, is that right?
yeah,
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, this is all news to me. I'll check out the pre-mint, but in terms like on its face, yeah, 1 ETH is a lot. 1 ETH is a lot for a PFP. Even if it was Larva Labs, I guess it wouldn't be if Larva Labs actually did come back. Um, everyone would be throwing an ETH at them. But yeah, I think again, like on its face, the art looks cool. I like that. It's going to be bring value to end of Satoshi Pass holders. Um, and if nothing else, like we're talking about it. We're talking about MFers. We're talking about um, pixel art. And again, like I just finished saying that the PFP meta was dead, but here we are. So
yeah, yeah.
You
I
seem to
love it.
always have a hand in each PFP that's making its way to
yeah,
the
every
market.
every
Don't
PFP,
fade
yeah,
Santana's
every
PFP enrollment.
PFP. Yeah, what have been the PFPs this year? I don't even know. I haven't launched anything, so I'm curious. No, but honestly, like we've been so fortunate we've been so fortunate with our partners in this space. Like I can't. It's crazy to me. In the types of the type it's not that I take it for granted. But when other people, when I talk to other people about it and see how excited they are, then it kind of puts it into perspective. So um, yeah, it's really great to kind of have this reputation in the space. And again, like yes, not everyone. It's kind of like if you know sort of thing. But it's worked for us so far, and no one knows what the NFT market is going to be like kind of the rest of this year. But man, here we are zooming along. Nakamigos is getting some good attention, and hopefully, yeah, hopefully some good projects keep making it to market and kind of redefining how we look at things, challenging us to ask ourselves what an NFT is to us, and is it still something that we want to be like a community we want to be involved in. Um, there's definitely a lot of um, opt-in thinking. Like people are choosing to be here, um, but some like who knows? Like again, like I'm holding ETH because I bought it at an all-time high. If I didn't buy it at that price, would I still be here? I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, that's definitely the. I think that's how crypto works, right? It's like you just everybody becomes a forced bag holder, and then that's adoption is we just make everybody a forced bag holder on ETH and NFTs.
Yeah. Yep.
At least that's what I've heard. All right. Well, we've had you here for an hour and 45 minutes. We are eternally grateful for the time that you've granted us today. It's been a lot of fun talking with you, getting to know you better, and having properly meeting you over the metaverse here. I think you offered a lot of good takes, a lot of good insights. Like I said, I mean, I really do mean it when I say that. Like, we don't hear enough from the operators in this space and the people, like, kind of in the trenches, if you will. And I've always found them to be the most interesting to listen to. And it's funny because in other industries, that's who people seek out. They seek out podcasts and op-eds and stuff associated with people who are in the trenches of whatever it is, right? Finance or biotech or whatever. And in NFTs, it's like the opposite. We just care about what's going on in Twitter spaces and stuff. And so there aren't enough platforms and people, I think, diving deeper into these rabbit holes and trying to fight or find the operators and the people in the trenches and kind of pick their brains if they'll let them. And so that's what KML, I think, and I are really after, and our North Star, so to speak. And we're just really, really thankful and grateful that we have some association with you, and you were so kind and generous to lend us some of your time.
No, man, it's an absolute pleasure. You guys did not only a great job with this interview, but just kind of seeing the positions that you've taken, and the flags that you've planted in the space as a whole. Yeah, I'm happy to hop on, and I'll do more podcasts, and then I'll come back and hopefully you can have more. Who knows what'll happen, actually. I don't know if it'll be like, if I'll have better insights or just like hot takes that get the people going, sort of thing. Maybe I'll become more of a Twitter influencer and just come and chill on here.
I would love to see that become the result of this podcast. Is like you overtake like Farouk and all of the, and 6529 as like the leading thought people or thought person. Yeah, I would love that.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I'm going to come on here and be like, yeah, Hypho Labs. I don't know if it's Larva Labs. Anything is possible. If it is, I'll pour milk over my head and, knock amigos to the moon.
Yeah, it could be like, oh, I'm buying I'm buying like 10,000 of these. I saw they said Yuga Labs. Yuga's definitely involved.
Yep.
Not financial advice though. But if I were you, I would buy all of them. Not financial advice though. But if I were you, I would buy all of them.
Oh man.
But yeah, thank you so much, Santana. It was great having you on. I thought, tons of great nuggets, and it's so great to just hear from someone that's like deep in the space and like one of the contributors to like one of the most prolific contributors in the Web3 space. So thanks again for your time.
Cool. Thanks for the kind words, guys. Breezy, KML, it's been real. And I hope to see you guys soon.
Yes,
cool.
Thank you.
See ya.
Take care, friends.
All right, see you guys. Take care.